I've decided in order to be an alternative farmer or an ecological farmer, whatever buzzword you want to put on it, you have to be a sissy, because it's just not masculine to come in and tell the wife who gives her big hunk a kiss, and says, "Oh, Harry," she says, "Oh no, I'm sorry, the wife, Matilda," she says, "Oh, Harry, what have you done all day, my big hero?" He says, "Oh, Matilda, I made the cows happy." That's just not. It's not masculine. It's more masculine to come in and say, "Smell the diesel, rub the grease, I killed 1,000,000 earthworms, I plowed up 40 acres, and I burned up all this petroleum." I mean, that's, the pig iron under the thighs, that's masculine. And I've decided that this being in tune with it that's one reason why we just don't do it very much as farmers, because it's not in we're not hardwired to care that much, or to be that observant in nature. And so here we are in the what I call the dense food business. I mean, the pounds of, or the grams of riboflavin per pound, the grams of just sheer nutrition per pound of animal protein, of meat and pork and dairy, is so much more dense than a squash or a watermelon. And I love both of those. We grow them in our garden for ourselves. That's great. But this valley is a prairie. It was a prairie for centuries. And what it can do with the least amount of external calorie input is grow grass. And so when you're growing grass and the animals are for the most part self-harvesting the grass and taking the manure and urine from the grass and self-fertilizing, rather than being cooped up in a confinement structure where we're having to bring them feed and then cart out the manure and urine, the energy flow completely changes when the animal is moving itself, when it is self-harvesting, when it is self-fertilizing. Suddenly, all we are is just kind of a stage manager, basically, saying, okay, actors, move to stage left, move to stage right. We put up a little bit of this almost invisible electric fence, each day, and have little, invisible water lines and a little stock tank, and we move that around with a little four-wheeler, and the whole thing just runs in this beautiful symbiotic relationship on essentially solar and instinctual energy inputs. I figured up when fuel prices spiked this summer, of course they've come down some now, but when they really spiked this summer, we did a kind of energy analysis on the farm and determined that we could pay 3 to 4 times as much for energy and still be okay, because our energy cost per sales dollar was such a tiny fraction. We got onto this because I read an article in a ag magazine said that 50% of the cost of the average farm is fuel, is energy. 50% of the average cost. And so we had just finished our year-end stuff, and our percentage of energy cost was like it was like 5%. And so when we ran the what if it doubled? What if it tripled? You do your worst case scenarios, and we realized, my goodness, we would be okay even if it tripled. And that's a wonderfully confirming, freeing, liberating, fall asleep at night reality to understand that so much can collapse and we can still be okay. And that brings me to, I think, one of the most fundamental things that we are supposed to do as standards of the landscape is build forgiveness into the system. Now, I like to call forgiveness, just because I think there's almost a spiritual element here. You can call it resiliency, flex, redundancy. I mean, there are all sorts of business terms that you can use. But this idea of building in forgiveness, because we know that there's a big bad world out there, and we know there are hurricanes, and there may or may not be global warming. There's going to be droughts. There's going to be floods. There's all of these things going on, and so part of our responsibility as stewards of the landscape is to bring that forgiveness, that redemption, if you will, to the landscape and make it more resilient, so that when it floods, the soil isn't going to leave us. When it's dry, there's enough organic matter. 1 pound of organic matter holds 4 pounds of water. So as we lift our organic matter, then our water retention is much better, so that in a drought, our grass can continue to get moisture naturally for a lot longer into the season. Immunity into animals, so the animals are immune, so we don't have to have big no trespassing biosecurity signs at the farm entrances with a bunch of toxic foot dips and spacesuits for everybody to don when they walk on, because we're afraid that they might make our animals sick. Well, our animals have immune systems, so we want kindergartners to be able to come out and handle the chicks and touch the rabbits and be a part and connected to it. And this is all a part of creating a forgiving food system. We talk about a food system that grows enough quantity, a food system that can be distributed to the ends of the earth, a food system that we can produce enough of to stockpile on ports and have it rot, because some warlord won't let it cross into their lands. But how about talking about a forgiving food system, a food system that's insulated from the vagaries of politics, the liberal left, the religious right, the multinational corporations, energy prices, natural disasters, and pathogenicity, and all those things. That, to me, is the ultimate sustainable food system, because it's forgiving, and the fact is that things happen. And just like we need to be building forgiveness into our marriage relationships, our family relationships, all of these business relationships, this forgiveness aspect is, I think, severely lacking in our business models and our farming models, and certainly our entire food system is very vulnerable to little attacks.